You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sherisse Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader. The Oxford Dictionary describes permission as the action of officially allowing someone to do a particular thing, consent, authorization. What if you were that someone and you gave yourself the permission to be everything you wanted to be and more? No more playing small and accepting less than. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, regardless of what it is that you've been through. And honestly, it's exactly what you've been through that has shaped you into the version of yourself that you are now. Like a diamond, you've endured so much, but instead of breaking, you have become stronger and brighter. And if that's not a reason to shine, then I don't know what is. And if nature can do it, then why the hell can't you? You are brave, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are enough. Hear my call and give yourself the permission to shine, because you don't realise how many people are inspired by your light. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 50. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've hit 50 episodes. Like, thank you so much for listening to me talk for, 50 episodes, really. I'm really grateful for that. I'm surprised some of you aren't sick of me, to be honest, especially because I'm all over socials and everything as well. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. And I'm so grateful to know that my content is really helping people. That's so magical. I think, from someone that came from such difficult and hard spaces, and when I do take time to reflect on my life in general and just being in those really hard spaces and being able to come out the other side and really share my wisdom and knowledge and know that it's helping people, I can't even put into words how grateful I am for this opportunity to be able to, share my life and inspire. Like, that is the greatest gift that anyone could have ever given me. And I always said that I knew that everything I went through in my life was for a reason and a purpose. And if this is it, then that's it. I'm a happy woman. And I know there's more to come from this as well, which is super exciting. But today I wanted to talk to you about making better choices, because I think that, that saying making better choices is very open and broad. But what I'm talking about specifically is making better choices from healed spaces. So a lot of people will start to do the work and they might say, you know what, I'm not going to do this thing anymore. And then the universe will test us over and over again. And how we respond to the test is obviously whether we've learnt the lesson or whether we need to keep going through it again and again. This can be as minor as, right, I'm not going to eat any more chocolate, and then having a chocolate the next day, right? And equally, there's grace in this space. What I want you to know about is, like, you don't have to be perfect at it straight away, but if you're consciously making a better choice, maybe you'd eat chocolate all day and you'd binge on it, and actually, you know what, you've just settled for maybe you have one in the afternoon and one in the evening, or you're just limiting, or you're making conscious choices. That's the key point there, the conscious part, because when you're doing it unconsciously, that's when you are drifting down the stream of deprecation, which you've been in, and you've been swimming uphill for so long. So it's almost like you've got to still water, or you got to, a nice tide, And then the fact that you're drifting down the wrong way, you let go of the oars, and actually your boat's now sinking down deprecation lane, right? So instead it's like saying, okay, I'm just going to steer, I'm going to paddle a little bit more this way in this direction. If I drift a little bit over, it's okay because I can ride the current. I hope that makes sense. I'm not a boat rower, by the way. I'm just using that as an example. I hope that makes sense to anyone. But I think for me, for example, it was really prevalent even today. And I think more so because when we are put in new spaces that feel exciting and expansive, that's when we're tested the most, because in that space, we can make a better choice that's going to benefit us in the long run, or we can choose what we know in a self-fulfilling way, or because it will give us the same result we had before, which necessarily isn't the one we wanted, but we know what that feels like. So I've said this a million times, but your brain is wired for what you know over joy. So your brain isn't wired for joy or excitement. It is wired for what you know, which is what you correlate to safety, but it actually hasn't been safe. You know, for examples in my life, I've just been used to, yeah, volatile kind of situations, and also emotional avoidancy. So I'm more comfortable, I had been more comfortable in those spaces. So especially in my dating life, you know, being around people that were avoidant was quite a natural thing for me, because I was also avoidant. So it made sense. And then as I've healed and grown, I've noticed the changes within that, and equally my tolerance for things a bit less, you know. And I think yeah, we're just constantly reminded of that all of the time. And I think what you're seeing outwardly is a reflection of how you feel inwardly. So this is why, again, I say about doing the work. So then, you know, when you can heal your wounds, you start to meet people that are equally as healed, or, you know, on the same path as you. Now, you're never going to meet anyone that's completely 100% healed. I'm not 100% healed, you know, and I want you all to know that we're always a work in progress, right? But again, coming down to those conscious choices, it's like, do I want to repeat what I've always done that's got me the same result, or do I want to try something different and evolve to be a better version of myself? And, you know, in that situation, choose a partner that's more aligned for that. Because when you're in a relationship as well, this is a side note, you should be collectively healing. So you should be healing parts of each other together, right? So that's why you there's Harville Hendrix wrote the book of Imago Theory, and it's basically that your wounds will find someone that has opposing wounds, so you can reparent. So for example, if your partner has a mother wound, you might have a father wound, and that's why you need to come together. Subconsciously you match for that reason. So yeah, that happens quite a lot of the time. But that could also be a choice that you make. You know, maybe you've always gone for bad boys. I use that example a lot because I know a lot of women don't necessarily want the really nice guy. They want someone that's a bit more adventurous and, you know, maybe doesn't call them back every time or whatever. You know, like that's just a common thing for women. They want that daring, you know, rough and ready kind of type of guy. But actually, that guy's never been committed. That guy's never actually shown up for them, and they've always had to put themselves out there, or they're competing with someone else. It's like, in that situation, you know, do you keep choosing what you've always chosen and getting the same results, or do you think actually this nice guy that's come around is actually, you know, being really attentive to me and nice and kind? Maybe actually I need to give him a chance, you know. And that that choice starts to create a new pathway, but equally will be a chance for you to reflect on how you feel. Is this right? Is this what you should be doing? Because sometimes uncomfortable is good. Yeah. If you've always chosen the bad boy, you're used to it, and you don't have any major flare-ups in reaction, it's because you're always used to that, right? Whereas when you choose nice, it might feel a bit like, oh, this is strange. This like I don't feel the heightened sense of emotion. I don't feel anxious. And that feels strange to you because you always have done, right? It's the same with, for example, burnout. This is probably the best example, and this is what I've been currently experiencing. So as you all know, I do lots of things. So I do the podcast, do my one-to-one mentoring with my clients, still teaching dance, working in a school as well, teaching some dance stuff, but also my program Permission to Shine, which is mental health and empowerment for girls. And then yeah, like my online things, I've got obviously self-studying stuff. I still have my journals. I'm doing in-person events, so I'm juggling a lot always. Now I'm a human design manifesting generator, so I can do all of the things. It's quite natural for me to do lots of different things, but there is still a fine line of when is burnout and when is not. And today I was reminded of that because I was in a situation where I was in London, and I had an early fit in for a job that I'm doing. So I'm still dabbling a little bit in performing, just a little bit, only the good jobs. But yeah, I had a fit in today, and there was an opportunity for me to get to a class I really wanted to go to as well. And I was really excited and looking forward to this class. And then when I got into London and did my fit in, I was pushed for time, and also logistically it would have been hard work, right, to get to this. It was on the other side of London. There were several football matches on. I would have done it. The old version of me would have 100% figured it out, made it work, might have paid an arm and a leg for parking, but I would have done it anyway. And then I would have done the class. I would have came home. I've got a client call tomorrow, and then my call time is 8 a.m. in Surrey, which is like an hour and a bit away from me without traffic, right? So I would have put myself in burnout through choosing to get to the class. Now, if like I said, I would have felt so fulfilled in that class. I would have enjoyed dancing. I would have enjoyed seeing my friends. But my higher self knows I need space. My choice this year was ease. So by me pushing myself to make it work, to fulfill my ego, which would have been obviously that chance to say, I did it, I made it. You know, yes, it would have been self-fulfilling on one hand, but it would have led to that deprecating stream that would have steered me down the pathway of burnout, because the job that I'm doing is physical. The filming that I'm doing is physical. And it would have just put a spanner in the works that was unnecessary. So I had to make that conscious choice to say, and also the universe helped because I was trying to look for parking. There was no parking available. And yeah, basically there was lots of things going on with the transportation. The universe didn't align it for me. Now, that's how I go off of things as well a lot of the time. Like if I'm torn between my ego and my higher self, which, you know, very much happens quite a lot. And this is why I teach this work, because I want you to give you the real about how it works. You know, this is, we're not just all of a sudden you do your healing journey and you make always wise choices. Sometimes you don't, and you have to learn again, right? But I was very much in a conscious seat. So I was looking at the whole view of my life and the choices that I could make in this scenario. And yeah, I just looked at it and I thought, right, if I can't get the space to park, then obviously I'm not going to be able to park anywhere. It's going to end up free in a massive wedge. I'm going to miss the trains, you know, rah, 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 rah. So I looked up everything first before just driving there and hoping for the best. If I had enough time and capacity and I wasn't doing all of these other things, then I would 100% have been there. You know, it would have been easy. But that's my choice now. It has to be easy for me to do these things that to make me go out of my way, right? Now, if this was 10 years ago and I was still being a professional dancer, I would have prioritized getting to that class because I know that that class would have been integral to my training, to networking, so all of those things. I am 10 years older now. That is not a priority for me. And this is why self-awareness is key, because it helps us make better decisions. I personally know 10 years on that 11 years on even, that my body can't physically take it. I've been delivering all week. So I've been physically delivering all week, mentally delivering all week. So by that I mean physically dancing as well as delivering mental health and well-being things. I'm drained. I'm exhausted. And I had to really honor and sit in that, being like, what do I really need right now? Rest. I always sit on my bed and record these podcast episodes because I feel like this is where I'm the most aligned and I feel most centered. The minute I sat on my bed to record this episode, I was like, oh, that's how I know I'd made the right choice. And actually, before that, I even knew I'd made the right choice because I felt the space. And that is something that I don't think, well, I know I hadn't prioritized for a very large part of my life. Now, prior to the pandemic, I lived in burnout. I could have tattooed it on my head, burnout girl, I was always overworking. And, if any last minute jobs came up, I would do them, and I would travel all the way up and down the country, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was I would be up at like 7. I would go and do like retail or promo work till like 6 p.m. I'd come in, I'd get changed, shower, maybe have a quick nap, and then I'd get driving to my venue to perform for the night. I'd come home about 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd repeat the same thing again. And yeah, I would do that, drive to different venues, drive to different places, maybe do different types of work, maybe go do some teaching in between. But I was doing most of the time 3 or 4 jobs a week, a day at the weekend. So it might have looked like going from the promo job to another job in between, then having a shower, coming home, going to performance. So I would juggle so much. And as I said, there'd be different parts of the country, and even different parts of like London. I'd be driving, spend so much time in my car, basically. And that was normal. And in 2019, I had a car crash, and it was a real wake up call then. And that was just before the pandemic. That was like October, November time. So then when the pandemic hit, I was like, wow, like this is the universe telling me you can't keep doing what you've been doing. It's not serving you. So from that point, I started to become more aware of, one, who I really am without all the layers. And I talk about that all the time, the labels that we call ourselves. And I was always and have always been an overachiever, a perfectionist, a good girl, quote unquote, someone that wants to do it all. I've always wanted to do it the proper way without cutting corners. And that to my own demise as well. Like I can be very transparent on that. I wouldn't have taken help ever. And a funny example of this is like with performing stuff, like I used to do stilts and fire and stuff like that. I used to walk into the nightclubs fully loaded with all of my stuff, and the door staff would ask me if I needed help, and I would say no. Why, Sherisse? Why did you not accept help? Please tell me that. Now I know why. It's trauma. And this is the thing, right? It's the toxic masculine that I talk about all of the time. And this was what my journey was, right? As you all know, I've done the healing work to find a balance within, to be able to make peace with my masculine energy as well as my feminine. And I know that I need both. You can't eradicate one without the other. So today would have been a prime example of when my toxic masculine would have wanted to take over, just to tell everyone, yeah, been to a fitting this morning, then I came here, then I did that. And I had to say, for what? For what are you achieving? And that's really where we make better choices, because we know that we don't want to repeat the same thing we've always done and got the same results. We want to choose better. My thing always was that, and I think I've said this before as well, that we get 100% energy per day, right? Now that could be very different on different days. But say, for example, today I had 100%. I might have given 20% to driving today, 20% to the fitting, and then I could have used maybe 50 or 60% in getting to the class, doing the class, coming back to my car, and then I would have had, like, what's that, like 20% left at the end of the day, or for me 20%. I flipped the switch, right? Instead of giving myself just 20%, I've knocked it on its head and flipped it around the other way. So I actually have now 80% of my day for me. And that in itself is so liberating. Like, I feel so proud of myself for making that choice. And I want you to get to that space too. Now, I know that you won't be able to take 80% for your day for you. Okay. And realistically, it's probably not 80%. It's probably about 60, but that's the majority of my day, right? For me. And that's a lovely feeling. But again, you might not have that option, but what can you take out of your day to give you more time? That's the key questions you should be asking yourself. Like, if that's a choice that you have to say no to something in order to free up more time for you, do it. And the universe will give you subtle nudges for that too. Because, you know, if you said to a friend that you would help them do their flat pack furniture after work, for example, and the trains have all been delayed, you worked out that by the time you get home, that it will be an hour later than what it normally is, meaning that then you'd still need to get ready, have a shower, eat your dinner, or maybe you wouldn't even eat your dinner, maybe eat your dinner with a friend, for example. But that would take you then even longer. So then, you know, and then maybe you do get ready to go and then you can't get an Uber or your car stops working. You know, they're all signs from the universe to take a break. Now I'm giving you examples of things that have actually happened in my life close enough, right? And I would still push through it as a point to not let people down. But what I've learned from all of that is that I have to ask myself, do I want to do that? Because yes, it's really important we support our friends. We love our friends, you know, and they're so important. But if you've had a manic week, you're exhausted, and even if you haven't had a manic week and you're just tired and or you just don't want to do it, it's okay to say no. It's just okay. Now they're varying examples of this because that is a very easy no, right? And a reason you should say no. If you've got a friend that's asked you to take them to the hospital for their appointment, that's something that you do stretch for and you make it work because that friend needs you at that moment. And that's where you make that choice and the changing around of your day, you make the choice to support your friend in that time. And if you say you're going to do that, you have to stick to it because that is something that is very important. And I don't want ever for anyone to be confused that you should be selfish in the sense of not being there for people that you love. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is you will get the best out of yourself and out of life when you do prioritize giving yourself the time and the energy and the space to complete tasks. Because helping your friend with flat pack, you could do another day. And you could, I'm sure, and this happens like 100% of the time, maybe the one-off example when it doesn't, when your friends don't honor their own needs as well. But if you rang your friend up and said, look, mate, I've had a really crazy week at work. Can we do tomorrow instead? Or can we do this day when I'm off next? They might say, you know what, mate, I was thinking the same. I just want to have a bath and go to bed. And then there you go. That was an easy thing. But if you don't tell people how you feel, the problem is they end up building resentment to you, or you build resentment. Because if you turn up and you're actually doing a shoddy job, your friend's going to think, well, you shouldn't have bothered coming. Do you know what I mean? That's exactly what's going to happen, isn't it? We've had those situations in our lives before where I'm sure you've all got examples where you've asked someone to do something for you and they do it badly. And then you're like, God, I'm not going to ask that again. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, you know, and some people are tactful with that as well, by the way. And I'm not expecting you to do that. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be very honest to your needs, thoughts, and emotions. But yeah, that's just one example where you can make a better choice to say no. And especially people that are people pleasers, this one isn't 100% for you, you know? And people pleasing doesn't have to look like trying to be there for one person. It could be even taking overtime at work. Now, if you are saving for a holiday and you need that extra money to go towards your holiday, or you want the extra cash to go to holiday, you're not going to resent doing the overtime. But again, if you're exhausted, you've got nothing you're saving for, there's no reason for you to do the overtime, don't do it. Unless, obviously, one of your friends needs you to cover them and actually you know that you need a date covered at a later time, you can do it as an energy exchange. But the problem is, if you look at your time as money almost, you know, like your time and your energy is your currency. So everything that you give your time to and your energy to, you are potentially, if you think about it, you're giving your money away. Yeah. So say again, if you had £100 and that was your daily limit and you were spending that on everything else and not spending anything on yourself, is that a different way for you to look at it? You know, does that actually feel like, oh gosh, that makes a lot more sense to me that I'm giving all of my money away, i.e., AKA, that's what my time. Yeah, this is it. And even more than that, you know, like when you know what it is you want for yourself. So this is why setting goals is so important. Having these goals, these key points. And this is the thing, you don't need to know your whole life plan. You don't. But you need to have an idea of what the next step is. So if right now you're in a job you're unhappy with, what would the ideal job look like? You don't have to know what career it's in, but you need to know how you want to feel when you go to work every day. That's the art of manifestation. If you can say and write down on your journal or a blank piece of paper and keep it somewhere, I want to go to work every single day and I want to feel so happy. I want to walk in and I want to see friends at work that I really enjoy spending time with. I want to be rewarded for my good work. I want to be asked my advice for what I think about important things. I want to be a key member of the team. These things you get really specific on. You know what the next step is for you. So how that comes around, you don't need to worry about, right? But if then you get a job offer that is not what it is you're looking for, that makes it an easy no. That makes it easy for you to say, no, you know what? I don't want to do that. Even your own job. If you're in an environment where you actually don't like the people you work with, you don't feel seen, heard, or valued, but they offer you a promotion, why would you take it? Because you don't enjoy being there. It's not going to give you the feeling that you want to have. That would be the universe presenting you with a test. That's where you get to make the choice. And this is where, like I said at the beginning, change feels scary because actually you know the workplace, you know how to get there, it's comfortable, you've done it all the time, you've been there for a year or so, a couple of years, you know how to do it. Of course, you could say that it'd be really easy, but it'd be easy and you'd be unhappy. Take the risk. The job opportunity comes up somewhere else, you might say, oh, do you know what? I don't want to go for that now. I'm not ready. Here's a secret. You'll never be ready. There's never going to be a time where you're like, I'm 100% ready to do this thing. Yeah, there's never the right time. And I've actually just answered a question for myself just then as well about something else, which is quite funny. And this is how the universe works. I'm answering my own self as well, which is lovely. And I'm grateful. Thank you, universe. But it is that thing. You're never going to be 100% ready to do anything, but it's worth being open. And when you know what it is you want, you know what you want to feel like in this next step, that's the most important thing, And if you do have a set goal, a plan for your life, which I do, anything that doesn't meet what that plan is, it's not worth your time or your energy or your effort. And you get to discern. You do get to discern and you get to choose and create your life, your way in co-creation with the universe. I don't want to be giving off no God impression here. We're not gods, but we are powerful beings that have the power to will the universe in accordance to what it is we want. And I like to think about it now as, again, this body of water. The water is the universe, right? And then we get to almost like move and adjust to kind of steer the water in the direction we want it to go in. It's almost like we're like a little dial, those little turn taps that kind of close the water off and on. You can steer it a little bit more to one side and it will shift over one way and to the other way. And you completely close yourself off to the universe, which some people do, and they end up being miserable. So don't do that. But what I'm saying is you have so much power. And I say this all the time, but, well, not but, and it's your choices that are creating your reality. So today, I honored my higher self and I chose the easier pathway for rest. And when I say easy as well, I use easy in two different narratives. So easy in one way is peace. Easy in another way is false safety. So you need to use your discernment for yourself and ask yourself that. Am I taking the easy way out of something that will prevent me from having what it is I want in the long run? Or is the easy route going to benefit me from resting, taking time out, choosing to recharge? And in fact, I don't even know if that is easy, especially if you're someone that works really hard and you do need to prioritize rest. But then I told you that example. It wasn't easy to choose not to do that, right? It wasn't easy to choose to not go into my old pattern. I had to think about it. that in itself shows my level of self-awareness and discernment to myself, because I was like, okay, I'm going to need to calculate this. What are the pros and cons? That's really how we navigate from a space, again, of self-awareness. You're not just drifting. You are aware of your thoughts and your feelings. And I do believe that, there could have definitely been pros to, if I did make myself go to the class, but equally, as I said, different time, different version of me, I would have 100% done that, and it would have benefited me in so many ways. Now I'm in a different space, and I know that I need my energy. I know that I need to store this energy up, because this week is going to be full on. So I need to respect myself enough to charge my batteries fully this weekend, so I can go into the week more prepared. And that's what it is. It's that saying, fail to prepare or prepare to fail. I'm not willing to prepare to fail anymore. I'm not willing to be living my life in my reserve of energy. I want to be full and ready to shine my light and my energy out onto everything that I do, because that is really where people lean into me, for being that person that does what I say. And that's so important to me, that I'm not just telling you what to do, I'm living it. I'm making these conscious choices, and I'm not perfect, and I'm human, and I am making, sometimes not always the best choice. I say sometimes not always the best choice. That's a lie. That's never the case, because I'm so over aware of myself that I'll overthink myself into making the right choice. But equally, there's no wrong or right, because ultimately you'll end up where you're supposed to be. But if you're going to choose to go back to old patterns, it will take you longer to find the peace on the other side of it. And there's always going to be an ebb and flow. You're always going to have to pull back before the arrow launches forward. There's always that swing of the pendulum. But when you're aware of your choices and why you're making them, it's always right. If you know why, it's always the right choice. You hold the power. Like I said, you have the ability to steer the universe in the direction that you want. So make those conscious choices. I have a journal available on my website through the links in the description. It breaks down all of these things about becoming self-aware, becoming, understanding, having self-compassion, accountability, this shadow work stuff. So if you are someone that's like, oh, I don't know any of that stuff, I've even got a section at the back for manifestation to write down what your goals are and things like that. This is all of this work. And if that's a tool that would really help you, then please do purchase it. I've even got worksheets that are like a fraction of the cost of that as well. This is just going to all help you get these answers, so then you can make the choices based on your own understanding of yourself. So when you don't know what it is you want, the universe doesn't know what to give you, and you don't know whether you're making the right or wrong choices. So you need to help the universe by helping yourself. And on that note, I will leave you there. But yes, more than anything, just tune in. Tune into you. Ask yourself that question before you do anything. Literally ask yourself, like, how will this benefit me? Is this worth my time? Am I ready? Shouldn't be a question. It shouldn't be. It doesn't need to be a question. What are the benefits of me doing this thing? What are the disadvantages? And if one outweighs the other, there you go. And if the disadvantage is because you're scared, because you haven't done it before, that's not a disadvantage. That's an opportunity. Thank you for listening. I love you very much. And yeah, as always, please do drop me any DMs if you want me to talk about anything specific as well. I will have a couple of different types of guests coming on over the next few episodes as well. But yeah, I'm just wishing you a really lovely week. As always, drop me a DM, like I said. And by the way, the astrology, if you're listening to this in time, the astrology is going to get really good for May. So be prepared, get excited. You are worthy, you are deserving, you are enough. And yeah, love you. Bye.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, follow, and share with someone that you know would benefit. If you're looking to dive in deeper to becoming your most unapologetic, most authentic, shining self, please do head to my website and join my newsletter, where you'll find out about all of my upcoming events and speaking opportunities and all of the things that I have going on. And also, if you would like to work with me, please do drop me a DM on any of my socials or through my website. Love and light.